Marcus Kane wiped the sweat off his brow, the midday sun scorching his worn-out baseball cap. The county tax auction was a chaotic storm of murmurs, shouted bids, and the rhythmic hammer of the gavel. He shifted nervously on his scuffed work boots. Plumbing jobs didn't pay much, and yet here he was, hoping to gamble his last few dollars on something that seemed completely insane, a decrepit cabin sitting at the edge of the Whispering Pines forest. He had seen the listing online, a crumbling shack, roof caving in, moss-covered walls. No one interested, no one bidding. The price? 25 cents. 25 freaking cents. I can do this, Marcus muttered under his breath, half in disbelief, half in stubborn hope. It was absurd, and he knew it, but life had been nothing if not absurd lately. The bills, the broken-down truck, the lonely nights in his small apartment, it was all starting to pile up like the snow in winter. When the auctioneer's eyes scanned the room, Marcus raised his hand, fumbling slightly as he realized no one else was bidding. The gavel came down. Sold. He was the owner of a property worth, well, probably nothing, but his heart thudded like a drum in his chest. Marcus drove up the dirt road the next morning, hands gripping the steering wheel, eyes wide at the sight before him. The cabin was worse than he imagined. A roof with a gaping hole, windows cracked or missing, doors hanging by rusted hinges. Rotted wood sagged under the weight of years of neglect. Moss and vines claimed the walls like they had been drawing the line of ownership long before any human had cared. Neighbors watched him curiously, whispering to each other, "Who buys that? It's worthless." Marcus ignored them. This was no longer about the money. It was about hope, about proving that something could rise from nothing if someone cared enough. He spent days cleaning, patching leaks, setting traps for raccoons, and salvaging what could be salvaged. Broken furniture became planters, cracked tiles turned into mosaic decorations. His hands were raw, bleeding sometimes, but every drop of sweat felt like proof that the cabin was becoming his dream, brick by brick. Nights were the hardest. Alone in the dark, Marcus sometimes wondered if he had made a colossal mistake. But he remembered his father taught him plumbing, taught him patience, taught him that perseverance could carve miracles out of mud and rust.
Months passed. The cabin slowly transformed. Sunlight bounced off polished wooden floors, the garden bloomed in meticulous chaos, and the roof, once ready to collapse, now stood firm and inviting. Marcus had turned something forgotten into a masterpiece. Word spread. Local agents came, eyes wide. One whispered, "You know this property? It's worth at least $10 million now?" Marcus laughed nervously. $10 million. He still lived in his old apartment, unchanged. But the world saw him differently. A plumber with a 25-cent gamble had built a castle in the woods. And that's when Delilah Crawford arrived. Delilah was sharp, elegant, with an air of command that made people either nervous or submissive. She introduced herself as the president of the Whispering Pines HOA. "You can't do that," she said, tapping a stack of papers with the precision of a metronome. "Paint color, mailbox style, landscaping, all violations. Fines will accrue immediately." Marcus blinked. I own this cabin. I bought it at auction." Delilah's smile was a knife in silk. "Not exactly. This is within HOA jurisdiction. Rules apply." Soon, the letters piled up: threats, fines, ridiculous claims, paint too bright, fence too high, plants too tall. Marcus tried reasoning, showing deeds and auction paperwork, but Delilah refused to relent. Something felt off. Marcus started digging. The HOA's filings seemed fake: no legitimate board meetings, no registered address, no official taxes paid. He spoke to neighbors who whispered of Delilah's past schemes: fake HOAs, extorted homeowners, then vanishing without a trace. Marcus's initial amusement turned to determination. He wasn't going to give up. Not his dream, not his home, not after everything. He began documenting everything: letters, threats, even recordings of Delilah's inspectors visiting unannounced. Each layer of fraud he uncovered tightened the knot in his chest. The battle wasn't just for property, it was for truth. Delilah escalated. She sent enforcers, thugs in suits, cameras outside his cabin, intimidating visits at night. Marcus felt the walls closing in, but he refused to back down. He spent nights poring over county records, piecing together a legal map of her fraud empire. Break-ins happened, a window smashed, threats scrawled on his door. You will pay. But Marcus was relentless. Every time fear knocked, he answered with resolve. The climax came when Marcus brought all his evidence to federal authorities. Photos, documents, recordings, every piece meticulously cataloged. The news spread like wildfire. Local news stations broadcast the story. Public outrage soared. Delilah's empire of phantom HOAs crumbled under the weight of exposure. Federal agents arrested her outside Marcus's cabin, cameras flashing. Marcus watched, relief and vindication mingling in his chest. The cabin stood behind him, sunlight bathing its polished walls, the forest breathing a quiet, approving sigh. He stepped onto the porch, brushing his hands along the doorframe. "We did it, Dad," he whispered. The cabin had never been about money. It had been about perseverance, integrity, and proving that one person could fight greed with truth. The community rallied around him, respect flowing freely. Marcus Kane had won not just a house, but a legacy. And in the quiet that followed, the cabin stood eternal, a monument to what a single, determined heart could achieve.